I used to think I was super, super sad. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I have the saddest type of depression. I'm so sad.
Right.
And then something kind of clicked in my early 20s where I was like, oh, sometimes I feel proud of what I did in the day, and sometimes I'm disappointed with what I did in the day. And there's this kind of this shift where I'm not like a super motivated person, but there's things where it's like I'm either happy with what I'm doing or I'm not happy. Like, it's like, I used to think I was sad. Then it's like, oh, yeah, getting blackout drunk and then staying in bed all day until my work shift and open mics. And I was sad. I wonder why.
Yeah. Know? So when I moved here originally, I guess we'll start with the regular podcast. That's fine. Hey. This is Pat George. I'm here with a wonderful gentleman, JT Kelley.
Thank you for
having me. Somebody that I've met via the internet.
Yeah.
It was a funny story, but just before that, I want to just tell everybody you can watch the Bad News Podcast with Sam Castillo on YouTube. That's available there. You can also follow JT on Instagram at God's Favorite Comedian, spelled exactly that way, or for at least another day or so, Bad Boy LLC on TikTok.
Oh, yeah.
But I was saying, damn, what was I just going to say? Fuck.
When you first moved here.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
To Austin, Texas.
Austin, Texas. This is where I met JT.
The home of original comedy.
Yeah, this is where comedy started. Mm-hmm. I'm moving here to be with my friends, with some more comedy peers, friends that I've met in Tampa when I started doing comedy, friends from PA, friends from Baltimore. Everybody, almost everyone that I've met in comedy has moved here.
Big East Coast migration
Big
over the
time.
past 5 years.
Yeah. I was part of that. Mm-hmm. So I get here, and my friend Lemaire tells me, he's like, have you gotten the SADS yet? And I said, what are you talking about? And he's like, well, you know, after you move here, it's inevitable. After a couple months or so, you'll get the SADS. Mm-hmm. Meaning depression, I would assume, is what he meant. It's different.
Yeah.
It's weird. I don't understand it. This is the existential thing that I was trying to talk to my doctor about. Was like, I wanted to say to him, like, imagine if you had to be a doctor, but there was no schooling and there was no like way to do it. Mm-hmm. Like you just have to figure it out yourself.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's what I'm going through. Uh-huh. Like imagine your career is just up to like, if some people like you, a couple people have to really like you. And that's how you have to be good, I guess. But like, you also have, like with a doctor, you have to actually have success rate. Comedy, you just, hey, my friend got successful, so I'm good.
Imagine
you know what
being
I mean?
a doctor, but you're never sure if you're a doctor, and then one day you're suddenly a doctor.
Somebody goes, "Hey, aren't you a doctor?"
You're
and
a
you go
doctor.
Like, yes, I'm a fucking doctor.
I'm a doctor. Yeah, that's absolutely what I do.
Yeah. So I think after a month or so of being here, I think it was like a month or two. There was one day, I don't know why, I just couldn't do anything. Like I couldn't do anything. Mm-hmm. Literally, all I could do was lay down and stare. I wasn't looking at my phone. I wasn't doing anything else. I laid in my closet on my back, stared at the ceiling, and I couldn't. So you moved here years and years before I think everybody else, right?
Yeah, 2013.
2013. Mm-hmm. For comedy? Or was it just
pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you at all, now I believe at the time you were on heroin?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Did you still get the SADS? Because maybe that's the cure to the SADS.
So if you're feeling sad, heroin's not going to make you feel happy. It's just going to make you feel warm.
Okay. All right. Well, it's going to get cold.
Yeah. And when it gets
cold,
come
in handy. Yeah. Freeze is coming.
Heroin is one of those things where it's like, it's not like cocaine or meth where it's like, it's going to make me like yacked and hyped or something.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like, my conditions feel the same, but just cruising. You know what I mean? I'm just like, I know other people have different effects on heroin, but for me, like I got fatter doing heroin.
Really?
I got way fatter doing opiate. Because not just heroin. You're doing pills and whatever you can get your hands on at the time. It's primarily, I say heroin because I would smoke heroin, but I was more of like a mixing opiates with alcohol type of guy. Okay. You know, that's what I was really into.
And alcohol, that's empty calories.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any empty calories in the heroin, but...
No, I would go to, when I lived in Sacramento, I would do like heroin or pills, and then I'd go to In-N-Out, and I'd get 2 animal style fries, 2 regular fries, and extra special sauce, and mix it into a thing, and just sweat and eat it in my car. Eat the whole just fucking house, and I'd be like, I'm a vegetarian.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna say, I was wondering why you would go to In-N-Out and get like my least favorite thing there.
Yeah.
I don't know, for some reason that when that maybe this is related to the SADS. When I got here, I kind of just did a tour of all of the fast food things that I haven't been exposed to because I'm an East Coast guy mostly. So it's not Carl's Jr. It's Hardee's. It's not like all Rallies. It's Checkers. Shit like that. But we didn't have Jack in the Box. We don't have In-N-Out. We don't have what's the other one? Oh, we had Whataburgers, but like one.
Yeah,
like,
P.
something like
Terry's?
that. No.
That's the best one.
Bro.
P. Terry's is the shit.
And that's what I'm saying. Is like we got here and I was just like, this is amazing. This is amazing. This is like, what have I been missing out on? And then leads to the SAD. So that also might be it. But do you find like so when you got off of heroin, was it like was it a situation where you were rehab guy, clean, doing that thing, or were you just like cold turkey?
The situations I was like living in is I ended up getting curb stomped. And
Jesus. Wait a minute. Hold on. Are you sure?
100%.
Is that why you got the beard? Is this a mechanical chin?
This is, I've had this since I was 15, baby.
Oh, shit.
But I definitely have 2 little scars from the little surgeries underneath my beard.
Damn, they fucking...
Oh, dude, I was wrecked. I got wrecked, dude.
Bro.
So I moved here to work at a music festival.
Hold on. Hold on. The thing from American History X.
Yeah.
The curb stomp thing.
A brutal beating. An absolute brutal beating, dude.
Brother.
Yeah, brutal.
Were you at least high for that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I was wrecked for that, dude. I barely remember the beating. It comes back in like PTSD flashes, you know what I mean?
Oh, sorry about that.
Oh, no, I'm fine now. I've been to therapy, you know? I've done like the things where I hold a computer and I look at a little thing on the screen and I talk about getting beat up, you know what I mean?
Wow. No.
Yeah, I'm fixed now.
I've never been to therapy. I need to go to therapy.
Therapy's fake.
Is it?
No.
Damn it. You hear the hope in my voice? You hear the voice like I was just like, oh. I knew it. I'm good. Let me get my wife on the phone.
The cure to men's mental health is just chilling with the boys.
Exercise is jujitsu, walks in the forest.
Yeah.
What else?
Jiu-jitsu did better for my fucking mental than anything.
It is
way better than therapy.
It is definitely not a replacement for therapy, but it is.
But working out is.
It is a good. Yeah, it's a good alternative.
Yeah.
It's not the answer, but it's an answer. But I apologize. We were at. So you were. Do you remember the circumstance and why you were?
Yeah. So
okay.
I moved here to work at a music festival, and I got the job, and it was so much fun. And I was a bathroom attendant, and I was like just giving out cigarettes.
Oh, really?
It was an absolute hoot. It was
Dude, that sounds like fun. Yeah.
They let me wear a tuxedo, and I was partying. I was
at a music festival.
Yeah, they put me in the VIP section to be the bathroom attendant for the little luxury
and you were
booths.
Like, sir.
And I had like Michael Jordan perfume and stuff like that, and I'd offer people spritz and like mints and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
And then they'd give me tips. It ruled, right?
Okay.
So I was partying like crazy at the time. Like crazy, like heroin, like because you could get heroin in Austin at the time, not like
not
white
fentanyl,
China, but
all that bullshit.
Yeah, that's when I first started smoking fentanyl. Was when I came here.
Can I ask you real quick a heroin question? So I have definitely lived scumbag adjacent over my whole life. I wanted to be a crust punk. I wanted to be this, but I really was just a fucking pussy.
You desired to travel like I did, but never wanted to jump on the train.
Never actually took the jump and smoked crack. I really wanted to try crack when I was younger. Never tried it. Like, I don't know. Lots of regrets, but also probably good stories.
Not smoking crack's a really cool regret.
I gotta tell
That's
you,
great. That's
I
great.
was in Florida. It was the heat of leftover crack, with a choking victim and everything, and it's just I coulda, and I didn't. But the types of heroin, you said White China was one of them?
China is like, well, I don't know if that's a normal slang, but it's what people called it in Sacramento.
Well, I've heard of black tar.
Black tar is like the normal heroin that you get. It's like resin heroin. It's really bad, but it's good and cheap.
Okay. And then that one, the middle, is there like a brown one that you're like?
There's a brown one that I've seen and smoked before, and that's like really good as well, better than like black tar.
Okay.
But I never actually was able to buy that. One time I found it. When I moved here, it was because I got a job at a music festival, and I was doing a trash crew at a music festival in Sacramento just because I met a guy randomly at a coffee shop. The bassist from Lemuria, met him at a coffee shop.
Cool.
And he said, "Can you be the trash guy at this festival we're putting on here?" And I said, "Yeah." While I was doing trash, I found a bag of that type of heroin, that in between brown stuff. They ended up putting me up in a hotel that night, and we all was partying with the leadership and everyone.
You just found a bag, like you just.
It was Sacramento, very heroin. It's like Baltimore.
And you just knew.
Knew it was I was doing heroin at the time.
Oh, so you're like, hey, this is good stuff. How do you test? Do you do the thing, or do you do like?
You can look at it.
Okay.
You can look at it because if it was like white, it might be different. But it
could be cocaine or could be.
Yeah, but this is not Molly, dude. Like it's fucking
this is
clearly aged.
This is the good stuff. Yeah.
And so that night I pulled it out in front of everyone and I did heroin in front of all these people from Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
Which I was 19. I was just dumb.
You didn't even like feel the room. You were just like, guys, heroin, right?
They wouldn't let me smoke it.
Did you offer them?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I put it on a birthday cake and ate it. They thought that was hilarious, made up this bathroom attendant job, and that's why I moved to Austin. They also did comedy at the festival. And they were like, you're going to open for Kyle Kinane and Nick Mullen. And I was like, all right, I'll move there.
Yeah,
it's like 2013 at the time.
Of course.
Moved there, did it. It was fun. And
so you're working as a bathroom attendant. You're
partying.
Here. Yeah, partying.
Like
getting
nobody's
tips,
business.
Found heroin. You're playing with house heroin.
Oh, dude, it was. And then I'd get so much money in tips. I'd have like $300, so I'd be able to buy more drugs. And so I end up making a few grand from this festival. And then I move into these apartments that are on Wickersham and Riverside over in East Austin to be paying like $400 for a room. I live in one bedroom of this like 4-bedroom place. And then this comedian from Sacramento that was like an older guy that was a road dog, successful, says, hey, I just met this guy named Xander Duveau. He's moving to Austin. Damn. He's looking for a place to stay with his wife for a night.
That sounds like a made-up name.
Didn't even think it was a made-up name at the time because I'm so fucking dumb.
Oh.
I let this guy.
Wait, was I right?
100% is a made-up name. Xander Duveau, I thought this guy's probably French or something.
You're like, guy, this is a big deal.
It's Mr. Worldwide, yeah.
The Xander?
Yeah, and he was just on the San Francisco Burritos Comedy and Festival. What? And so I was like, dude, this guy, I'm going to be friends with a successful comedian.
Yeah.
And he moves, and he's also a drug addict, and so is his stripper wife. They're staying on my bed while I sleep on the ground. It's supposed to be for a day or two, just because I was nice and they were giving me drugs. And then it ends up being a few weeks. So finally, we're at a bar one night where we host an open mic, and we get into an argument, and he punches me in the face. And I was like, oh, my God. And I said, okay, get your shit out of my house.
Yeah, hey, buddy.
I take the bus home.
No more free bed for you, pal. How could you do that?
He hits me, and I was like, oh, my God. Like, it blew me away where I was like, we're going to fight each other?
You're not mad. You're just like shocked. I know that feeling of that kind of thing of like, you're, when somebody says like I was speechless or it took my breath away or something like that, there's very few times where I've actually had that thing where I go like, I'm like, oh, I actually just gasped for real. That was a real thing.
100%. My stomach dropped. And I was like, okay, you're getting out of my house.
Yeah.
So I take the bus home. He takes the taxi home. Beats me. When I'm walking in the back end of the back gate of my little apartment building, knocks me out from behind, hits me with like a brick or a rock or something.
Ah, damn.
I fall on the curb, and he just wrecks me. He wrecks me on the curb, beats me, could have beaten me to death. It was nuts.
Of course, yeah.
Broke out all of these bones right here.
Oh, dear.
Got optical nerve damage, broke my jaw in 4 places, multiple concussions.
Holy fuck.
Gnarly, right? Gnarly beating.
Yeah.
Leaves my jaw hanging off like this. It was nuts. And then he runs up to the apartment, gets into a fight with his wife, and then stabs himself in the arm and runs across the street to HEB. Cops come.
Stabs himself?
Yeah,
like
because he was trying to say
self-defense.
Yeah, and so they see me and they're like, "That's absolutely insane."
He's dead. He's like, "There's no way this guy stabbed you."
Yeah, and it's like it is like a very small.
He did it himself, so like it's like whenever like a husband like kills his wife and he just Googles for 3 hours like how to hide your wife's dead body, what to do with a dead wife, like how to kill a wife, like all this other stuff, and you're just like, oh, he's like probably just did like just inside the thing where he's like, ow. Look, he stabbed me.
Look, he attacked me.
Yeah. Sir, you still have the knife. It only has your prints on it. Like, what the fuck?
That was the crazy thing, too, is like it was his knife, right?
Yeah.
But the cops even tell me that night, they're like, yeah, he stabbed himself from across the street. And they're like, do you want to go to the hospital? And I said, no, I wouldn't go to the hospital. And I wake up I was fucked up.
You said that?
Yeah. I was trashed. I was out of my mind. I was high on all the drugs I did at the time.
Oh, my God.
You know, smoking crack, doing heroin. Like, I'm not trying to sound
Jealous.
like victim blaming, but like, I got curb stomped because I put myself in those conditions. I was breaking bread with people who lived a lifestyle that could lead to me doing drugs. And I'm not trying to sound like people deserve violence or anything like that.
No. But that
wouldn't happen to me now.
You wouldn't have, like, there's no situation where you're going to walk into an open mic and somebody's going to fucking whack you in the back of the head with a chair and then fucking start. Well, there's a lot of wrestling fans in comedy, but
no one like that staying at my house.
No. Yeah, you're not gonna get knocked out and then tried to be like blamed on. Or almost killed and then blamed it for it.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah, really.
So did that guy go to jail or anything, or did you?
I don't know. Shortly after, I joined like a leftist organization, and I made like a vow to not talk to police. So when the court called me about it, I said, I'm not.
No comment.
Yeah.
You went, no comment.
Yeah. So I know that.
Did you ever go to you went to the hospital?
Oh yeah. Okay. I got my jaw wired shut for 6 weeks. Lost like 80 pounds or some shit like that.
Released a fire mixtape.
Yeah. I was drinking. So I had lived in an apartment that had like a shared common area, and all my roommates were poor too. So if I'd keep my Booster Ensure in the fridge, they would steal it. So I had to keep it in my room. So I was drinking like warm summertime Boost and Ensure every day.
I hate that stuff. I have the Premier Protein ones, and I was just like, I'm like, this is pretty good. And I'm like, I don't know what this is though. Yeah. I don't know what any of these things are in here. Like, and then you made it taste like chocolate. That's weird. But you had no choice, obviously.
Yeah, you just shit liquid. Yeah. You just shit dog shit liquid.
But like you said, you lose weight. That's good.
Oh, I looked great, dude. Yeah, I looked fantastic. Yeah,
ripped.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Ripped. But so that brings me to another question I had, because I remember you saying something about early on. I don't know how early into comedy this was, but you used to try to schedule tours doing comedy adjacent, or I don't know. This is my confusion. Was it trying to tour with bands, like on the same shows, or were you just trying to do like similar tours at the same cities just so you can carpool?
So the first time it was the first one. Okay. The first time a band asked me to do comedy for him, and I was young.
You.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, I'd love to. So I went and opened for him, and it was rough.
What was the band?
Boohoo.
Okay.
Like a poppy,
like punk or just pop.
Poppy, like garage rock music.
Okay.
But like, frankly, really bad.
Okay.
Really, really bad.
Did you get to like, were you a fan of theirs, or were you kind of, okay, so were you like going out there like busting their balls, or was it?
No, I mean, so I knew some of the guys one of them worked at Spider House, and there used to be a lot of comedy there. And so he asked me to do it, and I was like, I'd love to. And they're nice guys, nothing wrong with them or anything, but the music was just dog shit music.
Yeah.
And I'd go on tour with them and do the actual same shows as them. And then after I did that, my friends in a band called Vampire went on tour, and they wanted to do the same thing. And so I did that, but then I also booked my own shows in those cities. And so after I did that, I was like, oh, I should do a tour with them again. And I did, where I didn't do shows with them. I just booked my own shows in those cities. So I got a free ride. I got to hang out with my friends, and then I just go off and do.
It's a great idea. I love that idea, because like that was, to me, what I was picturing was you either like saying, I'll try to do some shows in these towns, and if you're doing tours, but then we just ride together in that kind of DIY mindset. Because I have that. I think that's something that I really loved growing up, listening to like punk rock and shit like that. Was like the one of my like kind of heroes growing up was Fat Mike from NoFX, just because of the fact of like never having a lot of mainstream success and not really having to do those things that are like that kind of question or make you question things morally. You know what I mean? Like if you have a record label or something like that, they may make you do things that you don't necessarily agree with, or vice versa, or just in general, like having the freedom artistically, then just to make it, just to prove, like bet on yourself and actually go through with it. And I love that idea with you going out with bands and stuff like that, because it's the same mentality of a lot of early on, like what was it called? The Comedians of Comedy, like touring and doing a lot of like music venues.
Didn't Maria Bamford write a book about touring with bands and doing the same shows as bands?
I didn't know that. No,
I think she did.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I can't remember if I'm saying that wrong, though.
It might be, but sorry, going back to the Comedians of Comedy, is it a thing where, what year did that, like how many years into comedy were you, and like were you like was it beneficial? Was it as far as like money wise, or was it just like, no, it was just a fun time?
Yeah, it's just a fun time.
Were you still doing drugs?
No, not by that time. Okay. Not really. I was smoking weed, drinking. But by that point, because like when I got my jaw wired shut and I was doing pills all the time, it kind of was like, I don't really want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
So that's when I just kind of stopped doing drugs, just kind of weaned off drugs altogether. And so by that time I was like, I don't know, I would do cocaine when I was out with my friends, but then sometimes I'd smoke crack just because.
dabble in crack, yeah.
So like when I was on tour, I think I probably smoked crack a couple times.
Is that easy for you to come back off?
What?
Crack? Like what was the hardest drug for you to stop?
I mean, opiates and like benzos are like
because of the actual physical reaction.
Yeah. Oh no, I never had like withdrawals or anything like that. I never.
So they're all mainly habitual habits or habitual like things, tendencies you had that you were trying to break, not necessarily like where you had to take like a program or anything.
No, and I did. I mean, it was daily use for at least a couple years, but I never, because you can mix up drugs that you use. It never really I never really like got shakes or anything like that.
Okay.
You know?
Oh, so essentially you're like, hey, I'm going to wean myself off of heroin. So I'm just going to hit a little bit of crack every once in a while just to take off the edge.
Yeah. You got to party still.
You know, maybe I'll take an edible or anything like that just to kind of like round off reality for a little bit until I can get this under control.
Yeah.
Do you ever have the urge to smoke crack, cocaine, heroin, or anything?
I don't really fuck with drugs anymore.
Good.
Last time I did cocaine was like 3 or 4 years ago. And I remember doing it and just feeling horrible. Like my body felt bad and my mind felt bad. And now I'm so scared of drugs. I'm so scared of drugs because fentanyls and everything. When I smoked fentanyl, it was like off a patch that was pure fentanyl. And
Jesus Christ.
And I can't believe I didn't die from that.
Dude, the amount of times that I've worried about like accidentally bumping my temple too hard or something. Like I have weird irrational fears. Structural integrity is a weird thing with me. Being a fat guy my whole life.
Same boat.
It's just this terrifying, like chairs, bridges, anything. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter. Stairs. But like there's so many different things. I the amount of like, and I think about it too. Like I've done crazy shit, I'm sure. But like I've like gross shit. Never like, I don't think dangerous to that where I'm smoking fentanyl off of a fentanyl patch.
I just didn't know how dangerous it was.
Right.
You know?
You wouldn't.
Now I can't even do cocaine. Like if you offered me cocaine, I couldn't be able to do it because I'd be like, that's just, it could be a death sentence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And is that what it is? Or is it like, it's the risk reward thing, essentially? Like, it's not that you're like, cocaine's evil, I fucking hate it.
No.
But you're like, it's not my thing anymore.
I guess it's both. I do think all drugs are evil. You know what I mean? Like alcohol's bad for you, right? I drink, but like alcohol's bad. There's no positive effect of alcohol outside of just like feeling good.
Yeah.
Which is the same thing you could say about any drug.
Right. And that's the thing is, I guess that's a good point too, because it's not necessarily. So what would you say is like self-medicating? Like there's a point where like, after a while, weed became medicine. They said, now they're saying like, oh, it's medicine.
Wild.
And they're like,
what's your medicine? Being focused?
Yeah.
If weed's your medicine, is your disease just being good at stuff?
Yeah.
What's your deal?
What are you too organized?
Yeah. Get out of here. Weed's the medicine is the funniest thing in the world to me.
No, and it is meant to be like how I started smoking weed was I quit smoking cigarettes when I was 27, and I still had like the social aspect of it. Quitting smoking helped me quit drinking because every time I drank, I would want a cigarette.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, well, I don't want to smoke cigarettes. Hey, Stanley. But like I'd get to a point where I'm like, well, I don't want to, like, it's not. And also anytime I would drink, I think drinking is one of the more evil, if I were to say, like drinking and like cocaine or opiates. Cocaine and opiates, I think, cocaine is one of the ones where like, because my wife growing up, she had issues with like, I think she actually was, I think it was self-medicating trauma for sure, but it was like a serious addiction to cocaine. Yeah. Like for like doing cocaine. And I think like getting an 8-ball, finishing it, and like she would tell me all these things. I know so little about it. I've learned most of my drug knowledge from her of being like, can you believe I did that? I mean, like, what does that mean?
You have to explain why I'm
like,
shocked.
It's this much. And I'm like, oh.
I watched cocaine change the wires of my friend's brain.
Yeah.
I watched cocaine make one of the sweetest guys I know into a demon.
I hate being around people that are drunk.
Yeah.
And I hate being around people that are on cocaine. Heroin, I don't think I've noticed it.
I think I'd be fine with it.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be. I'm like, what is it? Like they're just too quiet?
Mr. Sleepy over here.
Maybe when it's time to go, we got to drag his drooling ass out. But like, for the most part, the ones that have bugged me the most, or like personally, are those. And I thought about it. I never did cocaine, but when I was drinking, I was like, I'd wake up the next day and I'd be like, how was I a dick last night? Or was I a dick? Was I annoying? Not just that, not having control is a thing that like I do appreciate when you can take mushrooms or something like that, but not necessarily like if you're just building a habit, it's gonna end up being a bad habit because you're relying on this thing.
100%. There's no positive benefits of relying on something that makes you worse in every way.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good way to put it. Like, so you said evil.
Yeah.
I love that term. You were raised in a relatively, let's say, very strict religious household, right?
Yeah, fundamentalist Christian.
Fundamentalist. That's the word. Okay. I was talking to my wife the other day about it, and I was like, You were not in the snaking one, right? Mm-hmm. You were in the snake one?
Me?
Yeah.
No, we weren't. We were borderline snake handlers for Christ's sake.
I remember we talked about the snake handling, but I was like, I don't think he was one of them. She was a Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah.
So,
their recent said they were gonna stop shunning. They don't shun no more.
No, you're allowed to do it. You're allowed to talk to disfellowshipped people.
Disfellowshipped, yeah, isn't that wild?
If they are in the what's it called? The temple or whatever, their meeting place. Wild. Kingdom Hall. When did you I don't know how to put this. Like, not lose your faith, but like when did you switch?
The standard term is deconstructed.
Okay.
Right? You've heard that before?
No.
In like the post-evangelical world, a lot of people that grew up in the same type of world I did, they say like, oh, when I deconstructed my faith, right? Okay. When I started thinking like, why do we believe and why do we worship this way?
You start questioning it.
Yeah. And like not even questioning God or Jesus or anything, but just like, why do we do this, right? And then looking into kind of the history of your church and your beliefs makes you go like, oh, I'm in a really modern religion. I'm in a really modern, like this isn't, you know.
When you're in it, stop it.
Yeah, when it's like the interpretation that of the Bible that was like accepted in my world came like 1,500 years after the time of Jesus in Scotland. Yeah. And it's like, wait, what?
Wait, what? You think you got it right after he was gone?
Yeah, so everyone, exactly. Yeah. Like, which version every few hundred years is 100% correct?
So when did your deconstruction start?
Teenage years. Like when I was like, I started going to community college when I was like 16. I graduated like the weird homeschool stuff at like 15. And so I started going to community college and I took a geology class and I failed out. Immediately.
You're like, nope, fake, gay, nope.
I had they were like the Earth, this and all that, and I was like, dude, I have no idea, I have no concept of how this works.
So so you were the type of religious even that it kind of stunted your growth in a way.
Oh, like, dude, I like anything I know about evolutions from YouTube videos that I watched in the past decade.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So your teen years, like you were kept from a lot of things. Were your parents at all like hesitant about letting you go to college or community college even?
No, because I mean, we did so many like apologetics programs, which is like where you go and you learn how to argue against, you know, what we would consider like heretical views or like, you know, worldly. We said worldly and secular a lot.
Yeah, worldly is a lot. Yeah, I love that term because it seems it's a way to condescend without like condescending. I think that
and like. I'm still in a modern church. I'm a Methodist, right? It's still it's from Wesleyanism. The branch of United Methodist I am really started in 1969.
I think with your history, you're a Crystal Methodist. I think that's what you're closer to.
I'm definitely the only person in my church that smoked crack.
Right.
When I go to my church, I go there. I'm like, oh damn, I'm the most dangerous person in this motherfucker, aren't I?
And that's the thing too. It's almost like when you go to like shows after a while where you're like, these motherfuckers don't even know the life I lived.
I remember
I could wreck you, motherfuckers.
In my early 20s, I was still a hardcore kid, and I was like in like a communist group, and I'd see people out at shows and stuff like that, and I'd be like, oh, these suburban motherfuckers.
Yeah, they don't know shit.
I'd be like, these guys are suburban. I hated them, and it's like, dude, I lived in the suburbs. I lived in the suburbs, and now I don't. So I'm like, oh, these suburban ass fucking. Look at these jabronis.
That's what I was saying. Even like when I was going to like punk shows all the time, and I was just like, I first of all, I would make fun of the guys that had like the perfect mohawks and the leather jacket with all the studs and everything, because I'm like, you're a fucking poser, and I'm like, these motherfuckers are posers. They don't even know the songs. I'm like, I'm the only fucking real one here, and it eventually comes down to where like. I don't have that same energy anymore. Yeah, I just want to kind of exist. So you're still faithful, essentially. Yeah, you still have belief.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to. I mean, you're like
It's so hard to say that when it's like my concept of what Christianity was designed in me at the same time I was learning like potty training.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like I think I'm a Christian because I see what Jesus said and I go, oh, I bang with all that shit. Well, that's fantastic.
It's a weird thing. A book that I did attempt to read for a little bit. I got about a quarter way through. I'm not trying to brag. It's a philosophy book it's called Free Will Explained. And it kind of it goes into this where it's like how much of your day-to-day actions are actually your personal, like your actions.
Yeah.
What are you responsible for, and how much you'd be surprised how much your surroundings actually dictate your day-to-day everything.
Sure.
So like a lot of times with Dominique, my wife, like I'll say something and I'll just kind of I might mock something or do something, and she's like, well, and it's like this. It's almost like this thing where you always have this little thing in your head where you're like, yeah, but what if I'm wrong?
Yeah.
And like, I think a lot of religion could benefit from that, but also I respect the fact that you're somebody who questions but doesn't stop looking.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the point of faith, right? Yeah. Like, the whole idea of faith is like something where it's like, yeah, I don't know, I don't see, but it's just like the thing I kind of commit to.
It's the same thing as exercise. You got to find an exercise you like. You have to find the level of faith. You were brought in a like high level of strict religious like belief.
Yeah, high control group.
Yeah, and then you kind of just adjusted the dial to be like, no, I think I'm more of one of these. Like, I'm not this, but I'm not that.
I'm like a universalist where I'm like, I don't think my religion's any better than anyone else's. I think if you wanted to know what I got out of my religion, it'd probably sound the same exact as someone else that got out of theirs. Dude,
they're very similar. Yeah. A lot of the like most of religions are pretty similar, and not only is it like very similar stories or the same book for fuck's sake, you just write it a little different or put a new name on it. It's the same.
Except belief. Islam. That's a scourge on humanity.
Yeah, obviously. 5 times a day? I got work, pal. All right? It's filthy on the floor. I'm not going to. Anyway.
Pray where? No, I think I'll be a Baptist.
Habdu Hoa?
I'm going to a church with seats, buddy.
Guy's name's Yahweh, okay? Nice try. Anyway, a horse? A flying horse. Really?
I think I'll worship a carpenter. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Pretty humble. Knew a whore.
I'll worship the virgin. I'll worship the desert virgin. Thank you very much.
I don't need 72. I got one. I just need the one. So were you? So I remember. So you said in actually one of the episodes of the Bad News podcast, and you mentioned at one time, and this is no judgment. At one time, you were purchasing an NSYNC record. Album.
I think it was my first CD.
And you were Britney Spears and Blink-182 were the first two I think I bought on my own.
Nice.
So like same time, Baby Hit Me One More Time, Enema of the State. They brought me in two completely different directions. I'm like, these are good songs, but
Which Way Western Man, yeah.
Yeah, I like that. But then also they're also naked. So there was a track I believe that you said, track number 4, that was Forbade.
Yeah.
When you're going through like media nowadays, when you're watching movies that you weren't allowed to watch or albums or anything, are you able to, or was there a point where you're listening to these and you're like, why was this kept from me? Or are you able to just enjoy it? Or are you like,
dude,
or were there any that you were like, actually they were right to keep that from me?
Let me tell you a story. My friend from work, Lucero.
Okay.
She has a teenage daughter. And my wife and I were talking about her 16-year-old daughter. And she said, blah, 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 blah. I hope her and her boyfriend use protection. And I said, there's no way they're having sex. They're teenagers.
Yeah.
And my wife said, are you serious? And I was like, what?
I said, teenagers don't have sex.
I said, people in high school don't have sex. And I was so and she was like, babe, it really took this like, wait, really? And I was so, I'm not trying to sound like a fundamentalist, but I was heartbroken. I was like, kids are having sex? Like, kids shouldn't be having sex. This was like 5 years ago.
Okay.
And now I would say kids have sex and that's normal. I now know that's a normal thing.
So even 5 years ago, there was a couple corners of your mind that were still a little.
I thought of sex as an adult thing.
You're strung out on heroin, getting your jaw broken, and you're still going like, well, at least their hymen's intact.
Sex is an adult thing.
Yeah.
Sex is an adult, and it really did, like, it threw me for like
wow.
Kids have sex and we're okay with that.
Yeah.
You give kids condom? Yeah, sure. We give, just things that I'd never really thought about that I was like, because there's so many, you come with so many pre-programmed things and you got to reprogram each one individually. Otherwise you're going to be on like kind of the presettings, right? Like I come with so many presets on so many fundamentalist takes, but I'm like, that's what I mean when I say like people that are evangelical deconstruct.
Yeah.
Is because
no, you're right. You can't just wipe it clean.
Yeah, these principles are so ingrained in us that it's not intentional that I say and do misogynistic things. I say and do misogynistic things. I go, oh shit, do I think women should serve men? I don't mean that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Is that you know what I mean? Like even I was telling my wife.
Do I actually think the meek will inherit the earth? I don't think so.
I don't think that.
I'm pretty sure the government's got bunkers.
I told my wife, I said, I don't trust dudes that are too good at grocery shopping.
Okay.
And she was like,
shit.
why is
good
that?
At grocery shopping.
I was like, I don't know, dudes that just be in the store like that, they don't have like a man's mind.
Yep.
And she was like, and I said that out loud, and I was laughing. I was like, I don't actually think that. I don't know why I said that. Like,
yeah.
I don't know where that came from, babe. I'm sorry.
I think about that sometimes from growing up in Florida, and like having every once in a while, I'll share a fact or a thing about like, you know, when you do this, and they're just, and people are like, I don't know what you're talking about. That we don't do that. That's not something that's normal around here. When you go through and reprogram those things, are there like, do you think there's still stuff rattling around in there?
I'm sure. You know, I'd like to think I've done like a really good job of like reframing the way I view the world, and like that I have, you know, an open enough mind to where I can kind of learn. Yeah. But there's some things I say and do sometimes that I go like, oh no, that's backwards. Yeah. And like I want to rethink that, and I want to be a better, more progressive fella. Yeah. You know, my goal isn't to be the best guy on earth, but I want to be a good husband and a good friend and just like a good citizen. Yeah. So there's a lot of things that I want to make sure, you know.
Are there still things, so like with Jehovah's Witnesses, they don't take like blood infusion or blood transfusions or anything like that. Is there anything, any kind of medical or like, what's it called? Therapeutic like interventions that you're still off the books?
I would never take medicine. I'm insane.
Right.
But that's just because paranoia, I think.
I have the same thing. And I think that's a generational thing. I think our generation has seen people whacked out on pills, have been whacked out on pills, or you see how like certain side effects really fuck with you. And it's like, I don't, if I can do it naturally, that's why we went to the doctor recently, was because I know my insides are fucked, I'm sure. Is there a way that I can prevent them from needing intervention from medicine?
I feel the same exact way. I know the wires in my brain are crossed up. I know that there's like something wrong sometimes, and like, but the idea that an industry can fix me, someone that can profit off of me that doesn't care about what it will do to me but just wants me to get on something, I believe there's plenty of doctors, and most doctors are pure of heart. I believe they're educated and smart, and they don't want to hurt me. But I also think they don't have a big enough picture of how the world works.
Yes.
And they're gonna, you know, I know this sounds so fundamentalist Christian, but they serve someone.
Right.
They serve, and even if they don't mean to, they serve someone, and their interests are going to serve someone. And while my interests might overlap with that at times, not enough for me to take some fucking pill.
Yeah, you're not.
I wouldn't do it. I know that's insane.
Well, no. That I don't think that's necessarily. It's not like your what's the thing called? What's the type of Christianity where they don't let any kind of medicine go through?
I mean, there's a few different types, but
it's like a fundamentalist Christian.
Some fundamentalist or anti-intervention. Yeah.
Is that? I'm trying to think of the one. I thought there was an actual like their gang, like their the name for it. I can't remember, but that kind of thing is not the worst thing in the world, but it's also like there's I think there's a heavy burden, I think, by a lot of standards nowadays, where like you kind of have to come off as an expert on everything, and there's not a lot of like, let's try this. Like I think a lot of medicines, if they were brought up to say like, here's a trial, here's a thing, not like we got to get this out as soon as we can and then we're just going to put a bunch of warning signs up. If they actually did the work, I think medicine could be beneficial for people, but if it's such a business nowadays, the production needs to speed up, and they put out stuff so much faster. So I don't think that's an unhealthy thing to have because of where it is nowadays.
It comes from, I mean, it probably comes from my fundamentalist stuff, but for me, I really rooted in like this, like, you know, capitalist spectacle idea where it's like, I'm going to be more skeptical of things that I know are going to serve, you know, ultimately a cacapitalist class. Where it's like, I know those people. I know the Purdue family doesn't love JT. Exactly. I know they don't love me.
Right. Yeah, I'm not anything that is beneficial to them. You're just looking for where you can get that. But that's true. There is a healthy thing with that. Like, but there's also so I just found out that apparently belief in like religion and stuff is also sometimes correlated with stress. So the belief in paranormal, including religion. I didn't realize that religion was included with paranormal belief.
Damn.
But like ghosts.
Holy ghosts, yeah.
It makes sense. But apparently there is a correlation with the amount of stress in someone's life and how the amount that they believe in the paranormal. So did you have... I think for some people, the people that weren't raised in religious households are ones that end up going to like, I'm going to have a ghost channel on YouTube.
Sure.
And then the rest of them, I think, eventually get out of it, but kind of go back. Do you have like any superstitions?
I wouldn't let a Ouija board in my house.
Okay. Yeah. So
I have people, I know, like, I was a punk, right? I was a hardcore kid. So I knew people that were like witches and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's not in a million years.
Even Wiccans, you're like one of those. No. I know what you are.
Don't do any magic at my house. You know what I mean? I would never let anyone do any magic at my house still.
But you did, I believe you revisited the Harry Potter movies and the Lord of the Rings and stuff like that.
I watched I love Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
I love Harry Potter.
So it's not like it's not the existence
Twilight.
of it. Twilight, right? That's another thing where those movies, I believe, my wife would not be allowed. She was not allowed to read Harry Potter. So when she was disfellowshipped, she read the entire series.
Dude, yeah.
And fell in love with it. Loved it. But her parents or the church itself believes R-rated movies or demonic movies could be dangerous for you.
Yeah. There's a spiritual realm.
Right.
The spiritual realm, like, there's everything comes from either heavenly or worldly.
Right.
And so it's like everything serves someone. So are you going to serve the Lord? Are you going to serve demons? So like stuff like that is like, maybe it's not necessarily demonic, but the interest of people behind it are evil. So that was kind of like the idea of my parents growing up.
Okay, yeah. So like, do you watch anything now and you're like, do you ever get that feeling from watching anything, or are you able to separate the art from, quote, the artist?
I mean, I just don't feel that way anymore, where it's like, I don't think if you don't,
it's not as dire to you.
I mean, I just don't think, because like for that type of Christian, they believe that there's actual spiritual warfare in a spiritual realm. And while I think that there's like metaphysical things and spiritual things that a Methodist would call the great mysteries, like those great mysteries are fantastic. We love them, but I don't think that there's any nefarious spirits behind watching Pokemon.
You're right. Right. Yeah.
And
wait, were you kept from Pokemon?
Oh, of course.
Oh, I didn't. Why? What's Pokemon?
Evolution, evil, you know what I mean?
Oh, evolution. They have, holy shit. Yeah. Damn, I didn't even think of that. That's
My
so crazy.
mom,
I knew like Harry Potter and like the witchcraft stuff, or like
course,
Chucky or Nightmare on Elm Street, shit like that. But like, but Pokemon.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah. I mean, anything that was like worldly, anything that doesn't exemplify being not of this world. That's what, Jesus was talking about.
Yeah.
I obviously don't think that's what he meant now, right?
Yeah.
I think he just meant like better than the standards of life, treating people treating people good without requiring anything of them, not being transactional in your love for people, right?
Yeah.
But like, I think for them, it was more like, no, I mean, if the world is going to, sing to rock music about sex and partying, we're going to sing rock music uplifting the name of Christ.
Did you have a favorite Christian artist?
I mean, dude, I grew up all Christian artists. So, like, growing up, I was in, like, 1,000 Foot Crutch and stuff like that. Did you listen to Christian music? No man.
I knew, I heard of Skillet.
Skillet?
Is that one?
Yeah, Skillet's one of them. I was more into, like, The Chariot, Norma Jean.
Okay, yeah.
Under Oath,
those were
stuff
ones
like that.
I did not realize.
Really?
So when I was a youth, I think, how old are you again?
I'm 31.
Okay, I'm 38. So it's a little bit older, but probably same general, like, early youth and music stuff.
We're
like
millennials,
that.
right?
Yeah, I think so. So, like, Norma Jean, I think I just found out, actually, As I Lay Dying is apparently also a Christian
Me Without
band.
You is my favorite band.
Me Without You? Okay, that's
They're
another
from
one.
Pennsylvania.
Are they?
Philadelphia.
Nice. Hell yeah. They have, like, there's so many different things where, like, that was such a weird hang up. Not even a hang up, but, like, when I was a youth, I wanted to, like, fucking, like, I had the angst. I was going to shows all the time. The Chariot, Norma Jean, Nora, like, all these shows where you just go there, you fucking...
My Children, My Bride.
Yeah, you just blow. It's the biggest thing in the world. It's the greatest thing ever. And then, like, you read some of the lyrics. I never read the lyrics. That was the thing. I never read the lyrics, and I never really paid attention to, like, track titles.
That's funny. I was allowed to get into it because it was Christian.
Because it was Christian, right? So, like, something that sounded, and this is, I for a good amount of time, I was just like, how could this be Christian when it sounds so demonic? Was there any hesitation by your mom, or were you like, did you show her the lyric book and she was just like, holy shit, this is actually definitive. This is perfect.
I mean, we were such an honest Christian family that when I told them this is a Christian band, they were like, okay, no question about it. It wasn't like they were suspicious of that, because, I mean, I really wouldn't have listened to secular music without
like you were
my
already
parents'
staying
permission.
away from it. Yeah.
Yeah. I've always been a true believer, baby.
Dude, there's nothing wrong with teaching somebody to be respectful of their parents. That's okay. But fearful, or like when you have the possibility of, like, misleading them, when you're lying to them. I was just talking to I was on hold with this lady, and we ended up having a really nice, like 35-minute conversation about like basically the theory of it takes a village. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it takes a village is like a religious thing, but I feel like that is one of the villages that can help. Yeah. Like it can help to say like it's like the Boy Scouts or it's like Little League or it's like anything else. It's a community.
Yeah, people thrive in communities. Right. In high control communities, they usually have high value.
Yeah.
People that are like Mennonites or like the type of fundamentalists I grew up in, like my brother and my sister and all the friends I grew up with, they have a really tight-knit community of people that are having kids, babysitting for each other, sharing resources, and truly loving each other.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like the high control comes with high value.
It's from love. It really is love. And I do... So, like, I think there is a balance between, like, having, like, a very strict religious upbringing and then kind of doing a rumspringer where you go out and do some heroin, get your jaw broken.
Couldn't agree more. You know? And my wife and I, we want to have kids. And we want to raise our kids in, like, a universalist method. We believe in universal salvation, right? So Jesus died for everyone, whether you love him or not. Yeah. Jesus already died for you. That's why it's
doesn't mean you don't have to praise him. He's already yours.
You're a Muslim, baby. I got news. Jesus died for you and he loves you.
Guess what? No, you're not.
I got bad news, Buddhist. Jesus loves you anyways, bitch.
Pussies.
And he made you gay. But we want to do that because, like-minded people that want to have kids, that want to, and it's like the trade-off there is so much more valuable to us than having to give up worldly pleasures and give up all of these things that, like, we frankly just don't think fucking matter, man.
I used to think with the it takes a village method, it was this, they're just unresponsible parents and they're this and that. No. Aunts and uncles play such a huge role in society of like, we get the opportunity to fail without the kids seeing it. And we still get the stigma of being the cool aunt or uncle that they'll listen to. So you can still parent in the same frequency as the parents, but like you'll have a different perspective because, the kids are like, what the fuck do you know? You didn't do that. You didn't but that's why I'm telling you this. We don't have to go through all that rigmarole. And the village part of it is pieces from each thing. It's not the village's responsibility. It is the parents' responsibility, but it takes support. You need that support. So it would be nice if people had more communities or stuff like that. Bowling leagues, fucking literally any kind of a card game that you have. Like that's the kind of shit that really helps because the parents either need support so that they can reset and get back to like focusing on the kids, which is better for everybody. And that's part of that high value thing that you're talking about is if everybody's more focused on everybody, it will help everybody. Yeah. Like that's pretty much like if you have that somewhere in your lens view to say like the reason I do this is because I actually think it's right and because I'm not forcing it on anybody else, but like you said, I'm doing this because the way I think this is beneficial for everybody.
I invite so many people to Methodist Church. Anytime someone gives me any type of complaint, like I'm bored, I don't have friends here, I'm like, you should be a Methodist. We have a weekly thing where you can hang out with young adults. If you want to have kids, if you want to do this, like it's not a high commitment.
There's no pressure. Yeah.
There's no pressure.
Right.
I also think like I'm not going to restrict my kids from having access to my brother who's a fundamentalist, who believes in the most backwards, gay people are mentally ill ass shit. Where I'm like, that's backwards dog shit that I would never believe. So most of
your family is still in that. Okay.
Oh, yeah. And I think that a lot of people that see the world like I do, which are more like progressive, socialist, Marxist type people, have gotten sold into this trap where they fucking want to isolate and hate conservatives and liberals and not have like communion with them or whatever you want to call it, where it's like, that's also not worth it to me. Yeah. If your ideology holds you back from being friends or loving or knowing people that have backwards views or think stupid stuff, like you'll never be happy. Of course you should think you're right about the stuff you think, but if you're like, I don't let my parents see my kids because they don't think gay people should get married. It's like, your parents are wrong, dude.
Yeah. Go show them wrong. Yeah. Like that's the thing is that's why I think that's a great point is like you were brought up in the sense that like drugs are the worst. They're evil. They're terrible. Movies are terrible, evil, worst thing. This art is worse, like all this other shit. And to have it all on that same level, to say all these things are evil, it's like the same idea of like going like you'll go to hell if you'll go to hell if you kill somebody or if you masturbate or if you lie or if, like and you're like what it's the same punishment for all of so I might as well kill somebody and lie about it. Like, and then jerk off on them. You know what I mean? Like,
but I ask for forgiveness.
Right. And then I'll go, and then I don't, and then I'm completely clear. So like, I think that keeping them from it is beneficial in the sense, but like you said, exposing them to it is you should give your baby heroin.
Yeah. Well, I want him to see me smoke heroin so my baby knows I'm cool.
Don't ever do this. But you just still you still have that thing where you can go, like, if you don't believe drag queens should read to people, that's your belief.
Yeah.
But all I ask is maybe look into like why. And then
100%.
usually if you actually just do that extra step, most of the time I think you'll figure out that like, oh, there's nothing actually. It's just that's just a weird thing. Like, I don't think that if you think they're evil, that's one thing, but just know that maybe you could go have them read to them.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be evil. And you wouldn't like, you're normalizing other things. It gets all bogged down.
One thing I believe from the bottom of my heart is 99% of people want the same things in life. What we've been given is a different education, framework, way of understanding the world, and methods to achieve the same exact goals.
Yep.
And we live in such like a highly communicative society now where everything's so not only like diversely understood, but like I have my own news source, you have your own news source and form of entertainment.
Everybody has that luxury,
That like when I talk to people who say, you know, drag queens can't read to kids is a great example. It's not because they hate men dressing up as women. It's because they think they're pedophiles.
Yeah.
And they've been told that those pedophiles are going to hurt children.
Right.
And if you believe that too, you would think the same thing.
And that's the thing. It's like, do you really think that your local library is organizing a pedophile like party?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like because if you just take that extra step and you go, realistically.
Yeah.
Is that actually where society's going? Or is it like, or do they just want people to read to my kids? These are the people that are willing. It's not like they say, homeless guys reading to your kids, meth addicts reading to your kids. No, it's just.
And guess what? It's not state sanctioned.
It's
if you from the bottom of your heart don't want a drag queen to read to your kids, you don't have to.
Yeah, you don't have to.
But for you to say they shouldn't do that, that's what's wild.
Yeah,
that's what's so crazy to me.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, I can even see like progressive gay people not wanting that.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. It's a personal choice. And if you're not doing anything nasty behind it, you should not expose your kids to some things that you don't want to.
Right.
That's fine.
Right.
But most people that like, because I think if I had kids, I would have no problem with a drag queen reading my quid, right?
No.
That's nothing I would even think twice about.
No.
But if I knew someone who didn't want that, I wouldn't talk down to them or be shitty.
Right.
That's just going to put more divide between us.
Right,
You know what I
exactly.
mean? I'm going to try to build the things that like find the things that we unite on, and then we can slowly. What's that Thomas Paine quote? That time is a better convincer than reason.
Yes.
Where
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like sooner or later people will adopt better ideas, and they'll do it begrudgingly. They'll do it dragging their feet. They're not going to do it with me being a fucking dick in their Facebook comments. They're going to do it with some mutual fucking understanding.
Just think of like the golden rule. Think of how you would react if you were doing something and somebody came at you that way.
100%.
And just go immediately. Would you go, oh, I've seen the light of my ways. I'm going to stop doing this.
Yeah.
Or are you going to go like, fuck you, buddy. And then that's if you're starting out there.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing is if you have that mindset where you have the Christianity, let's say the disfellowship thing in general with Jehovah's Witnesses, to me, is crazy because you're like, this person has strayed from the path, the flock or whatever it is. So shouldn't we all help them?
The story of Jesus is that he goes after the one sheep that strays from the flock.
Right.
That's the story. That's the
That's
story
the story
Jesus
of
tells.
Jesus in that book.
Yeah.
In the fucking book.
Yeah.
Dude. And then you go like, yeah, but I think what he meant was keep them the fuck away and don't even talk to them.
I think he said they were gay and retarded.
Yeah, fuck those dickheads.
You know what Jesus also said? I'm not trying to make this a Christian podcast, but it's a really cool thing that he said. He said there's some people that you go to serve and then they don't accept your message. You shake the dust off your feet and continue to serve.
Right.
And so it's like, if I come up to you and I say, Jesus loves you, and you say, well, fuck Jesus, it's not like I go, well, I'm not going to. Well, I guess I'm going to make sure that my kid's in a different school than you. The whole point is like, okay, well, I'm going to treat you the same way that I would anyone else.
Yeah.
I'm going to do my best to be a good person to you back.
I'll be back next week. You know, like, you know what I mean? Like that should be what it is.
That's like the whole point of the gospel. That's so funny to me.
Yeah. So I'll like you said, it's getting a little heavy, but I'll end with this is probably the heaviest question. So I you don't have to answer it if you don't want to. Would you, JT, eat your go-to Chipotle order without meat?
Without meat?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, in a minute.
Yeah. You said earlier that are you a vegetarian?
No, I was a vegan and a vegetarian. I was like a type of vegan that would call people bloodmouth.
Oh my God! You were you like the throwing the paint and shit like that, or no?
I was an active fucking communist. I looked like Antifa. I did a lot of Antifa shit.
So what is your go-to at Chipotle?
Chipotle, man, I would say the carnitas with white rice, extra of the plain beans, and then sour cream. Some of that corn stuff. Have you been to Cabo Bob's?
Not yet.
Brother in
Cabo
Christ.
Bob's.
Cabo Bob's is like if Chipotle was the same price, but from local farms.
Oh.
Cabo Bob's is the best. They're not open on Sundays. Cabo Bob's and P. Terry's are the go-to for you.
Okay, yeah.
They're so good.
P. Terry's is definitely my number one fast food. That's for sure.
Yeah. What's your Chipotle order?
My Chipotle order is white rice. I get both beans, extra protein.
Nice.
1 scoop each. They don't charge you extra. Usually I go carnitas or barbacoa.
Nice.
Fajitas. And that's the key. So I would eat my go-to because then I get tomato, corn salsa, sour cream, cheese, done. Mm-hmm. I would get it without meat because of the fajitas. You still get that flame-kissed thing.
Flame-kissed? You are a Chipotle fan.
I'm a fan of Chipotle. I'm a Chipotle head. That is going to probably be a staple question on the podcast going forward. This is officially the first episode, but it will be a staple question. I have my go-tos, but that's one of them. Is would you eat your go-to Chipotle order without meat?
Absolutely,
because I feel like it is one of those places that if you're living healthier. I'm not saying that they're probably the greatest quality ever, but as far as fast food goes, it's not bad.
I like Chipotle, but I mean, with having Cabo Bob's here,
I'm going to check out Cabo Bob's.
It's impossible to eat Chipotle.
Maybe that'll be the question.
They also have do you like Diet Soda?
I love Diet Soda.
Their Diet Dr. Pepper. Okay. So, like, Diet Dr. Pepper's on rank. All Diet Sodas are on rankings.
I grew up in Florida. I made suicides at 7-Eleven.
Nice.
Or Circle K. You ever been to Circle K?
I love Circle K.
You go each soda.
Uh-huh.
Did you ever make a suicide?
I have an absolute hack for you. Okay. Take Dr. Pepper and horchata from 7-Eleven and do half and half. Okay. It's delicious. Okay, it's like a chocolate cake. It's so good. But the Diet Dr. Pepper at Cabo Bob's is the same type of container that they have for Diet Coke or for Sprite at McDonald's, where it's in the metal casing.
Oh.
So it is the sharpest, sweetest, best Diet Dr. Pepper in the world.
Can I say one of the greatest sodas, low key, is Diet Dr. Pepper.
It's so good.
Dr. Pepper is great.
Yeah. I go there, I get a 44 ounce, and I'll drink like 4 or 5 before I leave. Eating, it's like Chipotle if it was high quality meats and veggies. It's so good.
Bro, I can't wait. So maybe that'll be my question going forward. Maybe would you eat your go-to Cabo Bob's order?
Very local question.
Yeah, hell yeah. But I want to thank you so much for being here today, man. I really appreciate doing the podcast.
Anytime.
Brother, this was so much fun. I feel like I got to know you better, but also there's so much more. Like, make sure you check out JT. Follow him on any social media. I love like I said, I was saying this before. I want to say it on mic as well, just so everybody knows.
That way we have proof.
I love your content.
Clip it.
His content is wonderful. You've got crazy original jokes, wonderful experiences that you share. And just generally, you're just a pleasure to be around. So
you're making it so hard to kill myself. Thank you so much.
I try. That's what I do. But thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Anytime. Thank you.
Until next time.